All right, let's talk options now. We've talked intraday futures for so long. That's behind me now. No longer trading that. What it did do for me though is gave me a great overall game plan, if you will, to get great entries on moving stocks. Okay, when you are stuck in this chop here, trying to find intraday 1 minute time frame movements, you do learn to adapt and find great entries and through whatever market condition. The beauty about options is if something's not looking good, you can switch to the next stock. And if that's not looking good, you continue switching. And if nothing looks good, you're not having to trade. But when you're an intraday trader, you always think that you have to find something. If you're day trading, we're focused on swing trading now. So what if I don't find a stock for 2 or 3, 4 days? I have a position in another one that I'm just managing the risk on. So I'm in the game while also being out of the game. I'm loving it right now. I have my FPS call, and we'll get into that. Maybe in the next video, we might look at that in this video, why I entered that trade that I did and why I'm still in it. Um, but yeah, I'm loving using Stan Weinstein's stages of market delivery. Um, get a good gauge on which stocks are primed that I should be looking at and which stocks to avoid. So to find the basis, we're going to talk about that right now. So we have 4 stages. We have stage one, and that's just the first accumulation before the move to whichever direction. So we see we accumulated here. If we went up, stage two would be that distribution phase up. In this case scenario, we've gone down. So this is going to be our stage two right here. And we want to continue positioning ourselves with the trend, okay? So if we're continuously making lower highs and lower lows, we probably want to be getting into the trend here. That doesn't mean that if we start getting overextended, we want to continue hammering puts in this case scenario. But if we're watching the overall market, as in the NASDAQ or the Dow, we can understand, we might want to take our foot off the gas on the options. So at this point here, we have stage three and we're getting our accumulation. This is that basing phase. This is really where we want to be positioning ourselves or having our eye on the prize at this point here. I'll get into what we're looking for in stage three. And then we have our stage four right here. And this is our reversal until we repeat maybe a stage one here with a second distribution, or we end up basing again and reversing, right? But we want to be putting ourselves in the trade. Like we want to be putting ourselves in the trend. I'm sorry. We want to be positioning ourselves in the trend, okay? So we can start to anticipate, we're anticipating here a push higher or a reversal, some sort of recovery, but we're not trying to play the bounce. We're trying to play the strength after the bounce. We're starting to make higher highs, higher lows from this low to here, from this low to here, right? And we want to be getting in our breakout somewhere, right, in this area here. We want to be trying to get into that breakout that looks something like this and maybe just completely takes off like this. And we get in right in there. So that's pretty much what we're looking for. We're not looking to play the bounce here. We're also not looking to position ourselves down in here. We're looking for the tightening of this range. So we're getting a nice tightening here and we get the breakout. Okay. Now, once we see the direction here, we are going to get moving averages. I love to use moving averages. I realized, after hearing for so long how the moving averages, they're lagging, they don't really do anything, they're not good. We're going to call this the 200, right? And we're below the 200 moving average, below it. We're in a downtrend at this point. We're not trying to pick a bottom here or here or here. We're allowing price to show us. Now, 200 might be extreme. You're probably not trying to trade the break over the 200. That's not what we do at all. But we're understanding this thing might start to slope up. And if this starts to slope up, we might be getting ourselves into a pretty nice, uptrending stock option, if you will, that we can hold for, months, weeks. I personally am gauging off of the 200, but more into we'll look at, this might be a 20-day. That's not drawn good. We'll see some examples. We get a 20-day that starts to get flat. We start to get above it. And we start surfing the 20-day, and we're going to make this blue. And then we're going to have orange is going to be our 10-day. just like that. Okay. So we want to start getting on the right side. Oops. We want to start getting on the right side of these moving averages. I don't know why it's not letting me move this over. There we go. What is going on? Anyway, we don't want to be trading in all of this right here, even though we might come up and touch the 200. We might come up and touch the 20-day, right? We're not looking for a break of the 20 and then we're continuing higher here. We need to see that basing as well as that compression here, okay? So it gets wide, and smaller up here, and we're priming ourselves for that pop above here to continue surfing, the 10-day. If we undercut it a little bit to shake out some weak hands, tap the 20 and continue moving higher, right? And we probably want to be getting out on that second movement there because we had our first initial movement, pull back, second, pull back, third, you probably want to be getting out of the majority of your position and take your profits, okay? So this is what we're looking at here. It's not a simple V-shaped recovery bounce. We want that basing for a while. We want to allow, whether it's institutions gathering their orders up here, profit taking, and we want to see these moving averages start to slope in the other direction. Now, when you move to the 1 hour time frame, I don't know why I just did that because it's not actually going to lower my time frame. You start getting into the lower time frames. We'll move down here, and all of a sudden, we look at the hour chart. And we have the 5-day. 5-day starts to slope up, and you get your breakout here or here. And now all of a sudden, you're trading that breakout. Once you see the 5-day crossing up, you might get the breakout here. Somewhere in here, it's going to be a little internal like this. This is actually going to be don't know what's up with TradingView right now. This starts to look like this. And you get that breakout right here, the internal breakout with the 5-day that starts to look like this. Now the 5-day is sloping right here, and you can get that entry on the 1 hour time frame or the 30-minute if it'll let me pop back down here. This can be the 1 hour time frame. I use a 65-minute and use a 30 EMA for that, SMA for that, and I get the breakout. Now I know this went to the left. I don't understand what's going on with that. And that's the basis of how we're doing this, okay? So obviously on the lower time frames, you're going to see a lot more chop, but with the overall structure of how price is moving, we're understanding that we're trying to get into this area here with a stop below this level here. And then it all comes down to your position sizing. So if you want to put a little bit on here, wait for the break, and if we get a breakout with another high here, right, you can add to your position, continue adding, maybe start with 30, then 20, then 10, scale out when it starts getting close to your stop, 50% right there, allow half of your position to continue riding with a stop below here. I personally like to get those aggressive entries and go ahead and stop out if we break this, because I'm fine with re-entering if price shows me that we are moving in the right direction and we had some shakeouts. Now, talking about shakeouts, that's another thing that I like to do. Before I get into shakeouts, I want to talk about the break and the retest of key areas. Now, I know this is a drawn chart, but if we were to have something like this, we would have highs here, and I do cut through candles because they're psychological points, okay? I like to label this, and you'll see it in my labeling, as a reclaimed ripper, okay? So when I see something like this, my break and retest area is not going to be, let me back up for a second, I'm not going to be looking for this high up here to then have price come above, test, and go higher. Theoretically, for where I draw my zones, that's what I want to see. I want to see some sort of break in the retest of that zone. We're not just trading the breakout there, right? Holding that as new support. But the way I draw my areas is I use higher time frame candle closures. So if it'll let me, if we were to take a look at this, for example, I would imagine these being two closed candles and people who were trying to trade the breakout too early at this point, right? We are not looking for that V-shaped bounce and then higher. That's not what we're looking for when we're trading. So if people are looking right here and they see this breakout and they say, I'm waiting for candle closures above, what's the market going to do? It's going to give you candle closures above right here, and they're going to be 2 blocks on a higher time frame, and we'll see an example, and we're going to go the other way. That's called a reclaimed ripper. We popped above and we wanted to go below. That doesn't mean that we're trying to short there, right? Because all of a sudden we're basing. We just are not going to draw our area from there. Now, I do not understand what is going on with TradingView. Why is it not letting me move over? Okay, anyway, so when we look at this and we now extend our lines over from here, this is our area of our break and our retest. So we're going to pop this over to here with these two highs, and we want to see this area hold. If we're not entering on the breakout here, if all of a sudden we're failing this high psychological zone here, this break and retest area, support or resistance now turn into support. If this starts failing, we kind of get a good understanding. Not only is that compression failing right here, but we also have our area that's failing. So I want to use real chart examples to now explain that. If I go ahead and remove all of this, and we can clearly see the NASDAQ, right? NASDAQ had a pretty nasty recovery right here. This is not the example that I'm going to be using, but throughout this, you can kind of start to see, here we get, we're starting to go lower. Now all of a sudden we pop above this 50-day right here and we get this compression, right? We start compressing, holding the 200. We want to find our anchor point, right? This 50-day is going to be our anchor point. If we can get above it and hold and compress, we might see a breakout here on the lower time frame to get involved on a move higher. Now, I completely understand this is hindsight, and a lot of people probably didn't catch that. I wasn't looking at this kind of trading before, but the first thing my eyes drawn to is this major support here flipped and turned resistance. Now, when I draw this, like most people do, I'm not going to draw it from this area here. This is very important. I am not drawing my line here to then get the break and the retest here. That is not what I'm looking at, okay? Say you go to the 4 hour and you're looking at this area to now turn into the break and the retest area. This is how people get messed up and they say break and retest doesn't work. This support should now turn into resistance and we should go lower. So people are putting their orders here. What we're not trying to do is say, okay, we're gonna come here, retrace into the zone, and we're gonna slap a fib on there. We're not getting too technical like that. We're not putting a fib there and saying we're gonna retrace to 50% of the zone and then go lower. What we're gonna do is we're gonna look at the higher time frame, and we're gonna see these bodies right here. You can see this body with this body and the wick here. This is a solid zone right here. That is support. As well as we're pretty overextended at this point. So we're really being cautious on shorts here. Your entry needs to be somewhere right here. Once you get to that external breakout, you need to either just be managing risk, but look at the bodies. So once the bodies start holding right there, this is going to be a key strong area. We don't care about the wicks, okay? So when we return there, look how we're using this as resistance now. When we start getting to this area, you need to be cautious here. Again, we're not going long right just yet, but we are getting that basing here. Look at the bodies now closing above this area. Technically, we can start to look for some longs here. This to me looks like a shakeout, and I know my mind is going to start speeding up, but we had this support here, and this is a perfect example of a short-term shakeout right here. This is what a shakeout would look like with our two bodies right here. Obviously, this is a short term, so we're not expecting this to hold all the way up until all-time highs, but that clearly was a shakeout before a higher move. And as long, my stop would definitely be below this area here, and we'd be looking, we really want some entry in here, understanding this was a shakeout, okay? So we're priming ourselves to look for longs at this point because we got over that pivotal area. Now, if you're on a lower time frame, you're going to be like, well, where do I draw my line? Because we have it up here, but it doesn't cut through anything right there. Look how clean the bodies hold here, the bodies hold here, the bodies hold here. We get a shakeout. That's looking like a really good long position right there. Now it's all about the entry. So we're just talking about the foundation here on what we're looking for. And we continue going higher. We get some basing, and we're just continuing up. Like no one's taking profit at this point. Continue holding the 50-day right there, right? Still on the 50-day. At no point anywhere here should we be looking for shorts. We're still above the 50-day. Now, right here, what my mind sees, right, is we have this area here. When I draw this, watch how I'm drawing it because I'm going to move to individual stocks later. Clearly, lots of bodies, right? Bodies held. Look at the bodies holding here. And now we're closing really strong below it. This looks like a pop and fade, a higher time frame reclaimed ripper. We're trying to get above. Anyone who got that breakout here, they're now underwater, and we're closing heavy below here. That doesn't mean that this is a good area to short because we're clearly in a huge uptrend, but understanding that we are stalling out and this may be some basing or accumulation, right? And look at this level. If you go back in the video, I drew this level straight up here from this candle closure here. Now watch us continue to hold this level. I am not bullish until we can get above that level. Still not bullish at this point. Understanding we might get a reclaimed ripper here, and I haven't even watched the chart play out, but understanding that even if you were looking at this and you're going long on the breakout on the closure, NASDAQ is very, I don't know the word, they like to play with your emotions. Very lethargic. We're cutting through now. So the buyers, if we were going to be strong, we're going to step up right here and continue pushing us higher here. And this just showed that we were going to have more of an accumulation phase and why we're not looking for longs on a breakout of this area here. And I kind of want to go back and address that a little bit more from this point here. Okay. Let's break down the psychology. We are, every time we pop the highs, we're continuing higher. Every time we get through these areas, we're going higher. We have a clean area here. If this was going to be a shakeout correction, we were going to break through this and continue going higher, holding this level here. We gap up and no follow through. So immediately you can see that the buyers are not as present as they were in all of these times before. Okay. When you see that, it might be time to take your foot off the gas on the individual stocks and options that you're getting because the market might be in a decline and everything might be sluggish. That doesn't mean that it's not going to go up. It's just not going to be the violent moves that were taking place in this area here. What we're watching for is this zone to hold here. We want to see this hold, and I'll draw it for you. We want to see price come here, hold, and continue higher, and we might have, an internal separate area that we might take profit at if we were able to get a good entry on this side of the curve here, okay? And hold a position through up here. But understanding buyers did not step up here. We're not bearish yet because look how this area holds. Why are we not taking the bounce here? We're not taking the bounce here because the buyers did not step up here. We gapped up and there was no follow through with buyers. We were just stagnant. This would be a C setup. It could work. Way too risky. You want that basing and you want to get on the right side of the curve, not the touch and go. We don't want to buy the dip. We want to buy strength after the dip. And that to me looks like a V-shaped recovery. I would not expect us to have, we're going to push up, push up, push up, all of a sudden pull back to this area here. Everybody's looking at this psychologically and then continue to just rip higher, where anybody who is smart and positions themselves here now gets to get the same entry point as them when we just failed. So it's a little bit of psychological warfare, if you will. And right here, they got smoked. I would be more interested in, if we saw strength here, I would like that buy point a lot more on a lower time frame. but the next candle we get, we close below. And we end up holding this area here that we needed to break through with a bigger candle closure below. This signified no buying, so I'm either neutral, where I think it's going to accumulate, or a little bit bearish. So bearish neutral at this area here, meaning that I'm now not using this zone anymore. I use it for its purpose. I'm not now looking for this to then break through here and continue higher. I don't have this here anymore to sit here and say, okay, I have an alert here when we break above here, I'm going to look for the break in the retest, because now we've broke through it, we came back, we broke through it again, but we were able to use it as a gauge because we saw the buyers didn't step up here and the buyers didn't step up to defend this level here, and now we're starting to see a lot of selling coming through here. But that doesn't mean that this is a top and we're now going to go search for the 200-day SMA. But it would give you a gauge to take your foot off the gas on the other options, unless they have super high relative strength. So from there, we see us pushing lower, continuing to hold this zone, right? And up here, just like I said, anyone who set their alert to go play the break in the retest here, they were winning for a little bit and we fell through. And now it's just going to be chop city. It's going to chop everybody around. We got a shakeout here. Anyone who has these, and you can see how these zones continue to hold. Anyone who continues not understanding the narrative of right here, this gap and go didn't play out. The buyers aren't there, and we're so bull heavy that shorts don't want to send this thing too far lower. They're a little bit timid. We have the shakeout there for a little movement lower. Maybe look for some put options on something that's like overextended. But this is my break in the retest, and this is my reclaimed ripper, and they are so important with candle closures. Okay, I can't signify enough how important they are. And if you notice, I'm not really looking at anything down here, even though this would be a huge zone that I would look at. That would kind of show me that shorts are really in control if we could break that area. But for now, we're just basing. We're basing. Now we've broken through it, understanding that we want to see this level continue to hold if we're short. And this is totally hindsight. I haven't really looked at this. And you see how we break below, we retest it. Look at the bodies, look at the wicks. We retest it and we're breaking lower. But if you look at the daily wick, okay, let's use this for an example. We finally break this level. First, actually, let's use this one. If we were trading today and we had this zone marked up and we drop down to the 15-minute time frame and market opens up and we gap down, we're not looking for this to be our level. We're not selling short here looking for this to be the break in the retest on the 15, because it's such a high time frame level. This could totally be an internal shakeout. If we go on the 30-minute, let's see what it looks like here. This is our reclaimed ripper. Look at that on the 4-hour. Look at those bodies. That's our reclaimed ripper. Send us right back up into this resistance. You want to be selling at this resistance up here. But that's what it looks like. The fake pop below, and we're not getting trapped in that because we're not trading on those little intraday time frames. I mean, that would be a good long trade right there. Understanding, we got our push lower, and now all of a sudden, look at us compressing right here on the intraday. We change this. Now all of a sudden, the 5-day is starting to slope up, but we're not long-term bullish. Why? Because we're clearly in a consolidation period right here. Now, what happens when we do get the daily candle closure right here below this area? The reclaimed ripper wasn't a shakeout to send us higher because we got stuck at this resistance again, okay? But when this happens, now all of a sudden, we do want to watch this. We do want to see, okay, can we get a bit of a break and a retest here? We hop on the 65-minute. We go to the 30 SMA. We kind of want to see this SMA start to flatten out. We might get a pop below it and we want to ride the trend lower. This is our gauge on what we're sort of looking for. So right here, we're trying to see, can we hold this? Can we stay below this level? And we might get a little bit of a reclaim ripper, and we are holding this level. And you're asking me where's the entry? Is the entry right here? That's kind of a little too much of a V-shaped boom to go lower. I want some basing. So if we can get some basing right here, and we can start actually, if we hop on the 65, marking out some internal break and retest levels. So if I see here, what I'm doing with my eyes is I have this area here, okay? The game plan that I'm about to do is we have this area here. This could be the reversal point and we might not retest this level again. But what I'm seeing is we have all these highs right here. And if I go to the left, we can see we hit it once and these bodies also respected that. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this right here. We're going to make that purple. And if we were to get above this, and this is how you have to think like a chess player. They're here to take your money. If we were to travel up here, because we closed on the daily time frame below this area, and let's make it red, we are bearish. What were the steps here? Buyers did not step up at this point. We entered an accumulation phase. We accumulated. This could be stage 3 to then send us lower. And that is what the signs are telling us right now with this daily candle closure here. So we are bearish at this point, understanding, right, that we want to play our levels, okay? So if we didn't get our entry up here and we continue going lower, where is our next break and retest area? Okay, well, we have this up here. And we want to be using the bodies. We have this area here. So if we were to travel here and make our way down, we would want to see this hold, and this could be our entry from here, okay? So let's wait and see how price reacts up here. And what I'm watching for is if we get a shakeout here. I love shakeouts right here because anybody who isn't looking at everything going on and they're just zoomed in on the lower time frame, they'll see this area here and trade the breakout. Okay, they'll trade the breakout above this area, not understanding right up here we have that daily break and retest area that we could get a shakeout. We get a shakeout right here. We could pop right above here into that supply that we were seeing at that daily closure and send us lower. So let's see what happens here. If you're looking at the 5-day, we're above the 5-day. We want to start getting below that 5-day moving average. Is this overnight? This is overnight. 12:30 a.m. This is all overnight. Oh yeah, this is the NASDAQ. I forgot. I was like, why is this overnight? Okay. So right. So and I'm looking at all this hindsight. So maybe on the intraday, I would have been looking at this a little more clearly. But if you're looking at other stocks and stuff, you can take the short put. This, I didn't know this was going to happen. Clearly traded up, break and retest of this area here. We didn't get the shakeout up here, but you don't want to be anticipating the shakeout. You just want to understand that we have a lot of supply in this area right here with that daily break and retest level. If we can get a break here. But what did I mention? I mentioned we had a flat to rising 5-day moving average, and we want to see that thing start to go down a little bit. So if you hop on the 30-minute, and we're watching this area here, if you're prepared, at no point are you getting trapped in a long setup right here. You're seeing this and you're hammering puts, right? Nowhere in here did I mention we were looking for buys. So it's keeping you on the right side of the market if you have your levels that you can identify. I mean, look how perfect that was. And we're not looking for a shakeout below here because we're not looking for uptrending because we had all the supply on this daily break and retest, and we ended up moving yet much lower. And from here, we are a little bit overextended. We're bearish until proving otherwise. The trend is innocent until proven guilty. We're not looking for some mystical bounce play right here, okay? If anything, we want to see some basing. What I want to incorporate is the anchored VWAP. Now, this was perfect. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and I'm just being full on honest right now. Like, I could have gone through earlier and looked at the chart and had a perfect entry and said, hey, we're entering here. My entry probably would have been here. I probably would have pulled the trigger. Maybe I miss it, but my idea was right that, I either want to be short when we get a shakeout up here or watch this area fail down here. That's what I wanted to see. But I mean, you can see we're not making any higher highs and we're starting to make lower lows here, getting smaller and smaller. This thing starts to look like this, right? This starts compressing, and that breakout was really the best area was up in here, but that was overnight. But you're definitely not looking for, you're not going to fill up your options portfolio. When we see this candle closure here, you're not filling up your options portfolio thinking that Nasdaq's suddenly going to recover from this area. See, I didn't draw any of this. I didn't draw any of these because they're not important to me. This was a basing period. So, you can use this to gauge the Nasdaq to find other stocks. We had a crazy V-shaped recovery right here. And so really this was kind of our shakeout. I wonder how that looks on the weekly. Every time I refer to a shakeout, it's these two boxes right here that create that clear box. I didn't mean to do that. The body's right there. Just a real quick compression before we exploded. Really got no basing. So not trying to pick a top, but okay, so let's talk about this. What is the difference between this? Let's remove all of this. This here, the breakout above these highs, the gap didn't want to go. This should have immediately propelled us right here. It should have shown strength, and we should have broken through up here and continued like this if we were going to have a retracement like this. Notice what happens here. Push up, immediate tap right here. If you look at the hour chart, look at that break and retest right there, and we continue going higher. Nasdaq is nothing but strength right here, okay? So this was our small basing, and let's see if on the lower time frame it'll pull up. $65 to 30. This 30 starts to move higher. From this point here, we want to see some kind of just accumulation right here. And we want to be trying to get in right here with our breakout. Really right here before, this area or this area. Because the risk is just so much better. And let's see if we do get that. We come to the 5-day. We're compressing. Again, this is overnight because NASDAQ trades overnight. Getting tight. And this looks really clean. Look at the bodies holding above this area here. I would like this buy if I were to buy. It would be right in here with my stop below here. and we're taking this thing up. Does it? Yep. We really want this area to hold here. And I know this is hindsight. Continues holding, continues holding. This is truly the perfect entry right here. In this break of this pivot here, we're not really looking for the break up here because all of a sudden we'll return to it. And this is the ultimate setup. We start basing. This 5-day flips. We're getting tight and tight and tight. Notice how price is not doing this. We're not seeing price. We're not seeing price do this at this point. It'll boom, 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 boom. And it wouldn't look like that. It would be more like this. Boom, 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 boom. There's just no tightening. You see how we get super tight right here? We start compressing, and that's where we're looking for the breakout of this area here. Boom, pull the trigger, giving us some room down here with the stop in case we want to shake any of these people out here, get a shake out. But ultimately, we're going to continue higher. And I mean, that's just a beautiful trade right there. You want to be on the right side of the 5-day moving average. So with that being said, that's how I look for, my trades. And it keeps you out of, right? Because we're probably scaling out right here and leaving some runners. It keeps you out of this right here. So when we find that entry somewhere in here, and again, I know this is all hindsight, but you have to go through and see, okay, where did I miss the best entry to get in? We pop this on the 65. At this point here, if this is going to be our base, remember, we want to see something like this, getting small to take us up. This is looking like it right there. That break above there. Still holding that 5-day. I personally would not have been wanting to get into any of this because if you notice, like I said on the other one, just like I drew it, bam, 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 bam. It's so wide, we're not really getting the smaller compression. And when everything's vertical like this to me looks like a shakeout. So this is what I'm going to get into in my next video. This is pretty much what I do. I see something like this, and if I'm expecting, some sort of base, we're eating away at supply, right? We didn't want to get that break pop above here. If you think about the psychology of this, anyone who traded the breakout right here, we weren't ready because we didn't compress. This whole box looks the same. It's not the tightening like the other one where we were getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So this already was a bad breakout, and that's why it failed. So anybody who was in that, now all of a sudden it's going to be a war zone. These people are going to come down and get stopped out. These people are going to say the buyer's going to step up and go short. These people are going to look for the break below here, trade the break in the retest here. This looks like a reclaimed ripper. I would like to now try and see if from here we can get some sort of basing like this. And I'm going to hop on the 65-minute time frame thinking this is my low bounce point. There's no trade yet. I'm not entering the trade thinking that this is the reclaim ripper and I'm buying now. I'm looking for this to start turning up and I can get in somewhere here and position myself to be in the trade through this breakout up here and try and scale out. So let's see. We watch the 5 days still declining. We want to see that flatten out a little bit. And now all of a sudden we're above the 5-day. This looks like a good entry here. The tightening of this range. We just had our breakout here very quickly. And this is what I look at when I'm scanning stocks super quickly. This was my reclaimed ripper. What did we do? We made a higher low at this point. I'll draw it here. We have a higher low, and we had a breakout here, and we compressed, and this is our other breakout. This looks like a great buy point. Now we're above the 5-day. My stop would be down here. Make this like that. This is my stop, and let's see what we get. Bam. Through that breakout. We already know hindsight, this thing ends up reversing. But look at that's what we're looking for. You clearly see in this area was the break in the retest. We broke it, candle closed below. We compressed a little bit, and we pushed higher, right? Higher low, clearly the reclaimed ripper. That's why we're not trying to buy the reclaimed ripper, because not only do you have to sit through this chop and maybe a pullback here and your stop goes here, yeah, you might be buying at a lower price right here, but this, your risk to reward is so much better. And really, if you want to be aggressive, this area right here shouldn't fail. We shouldn't now retrace all the way down to here, but I'd rather let my stop run a little bit more and get this pop up here. I mean, that's just beautiful. And that's what you can do. NASDAQ's not always going to present this opportunity for you, but when you have 1,000 stocks you can look at, you get that. So now let's just take a look at FPS. This is the play that I'm in right now. No, I have a lot. It was just picture perfect. And let's get rid of this anchored VWAP here. If you look at what happened here, we had basing and we had to push higher. I want to ride with the trend. I'm not looking at all of this and saying, okay, I think that we're going to stall out now. I think that we're going to reverse. Let me short it. I'm saying, let me see if this thing can compress a little bit, start making higher highs and higher lows, and trade the internal breakout. I'm not trading the breakout up here, and I'm not trading the breakout up here, okay? We start, there's my reclaimed ripper right here. Look at the bodies on that. That is absolutely perfect. And why I have that marked is the same way on the NASDAQ, we're looking at the bodies of these candles. Clearly, we have some support here. We don't want to break below this level. If we do, people are looking at that to trade short on the breakout there. I'm not looking for that. I'm not looking for the break in the retest because we're in an uptrend. So I'm not looking to short this thing. But what I will do is I'll wait and see if we don't see any reclaimed ripper, that's going to be my bottom point. So that's where everybody who bought in this area is completely safe. Now it's just a matter of where is my entry in this trade. Now, if you watch this, what I'm not looking for is I'm not looking for price to start doing this. Every move, I'm going to make this white so we can see it. I'm not looking for this big whip saw where the range stays the same size, right? I want to see this thing start to get smaller and smaller, and you can see up here how we are getting smaller and smaller. We're getting that flag pattern. We had this area right here, holding. Look at every time we touch it, the bodies want to respect it. Now that we're above it and we're in an uptrend, I want to see how this thing can hold. Right there was my entry. I played this wrong. I traded the breakout here without the candle closure, and we ended up reverting back into the range, but holding key support and resistance areas with my stop below this down here. My stop could have been all the way up here, but I wanted to give myself some space for this thing to run, because if this really is a compression on the daily chart, right, I want to make sure that I'm not getting stopped out if we want to come down here and wick through this a little bit more, but have the daily candle close above, our support and resistance zone. So really the best entry would have been right here on this closure of this 30-minute candle. That would have been the best entry. I think it would have been the same where I got filled, the exact same with no drawdown. And we just expanded up all day. So I'm still holding this because um we have room to run. If that was the base, we might get another day where we base and a follow through day up to this area here, and I'll close at the $60 mark, which is going to be a key inflection point. I don't think 55 is going to stop us. I think we'll get up to 60. These candles will get bigger, and I'll sell into that strength. But same concept as we looked in the Nasdaq, getting smaller and smaller. We're just looking for that internal breakout, which was here for me, and we send this thing up to the moon. So I hope that kind of showed the process of how I'm looking at specific stocks and my, game plan, if you will, using break and retest with reclaimed rippers. I do use anchored VWAP, to see key areas. If we look at target, for example, when we had this push lower here, this was from the earnings date. We're now over that area and we're continuing to hold it with a key break and retest area. If you notice, like, I'm not concerned with this. I'm not looking at this point here and drawing this like this, where a lot of people get chopped up in this area here. See again, if I drew it from that point, it's just a lot of whipsaw. We're using high time frame break and retest areas. This clearly was a reclaimed ripper. That we're going to be holding. You see the month closed and we retested it. Look at the body. That's showing strength. If we can see some basing right here, okay? If we see some basing right here and I already have my compression drawn, we might be able to get a nice little rip above, play the internal break somewhere in here, sell it through here, hold it for a little bit, and take us, maybe up to this resistance. So I'm watching target. We're holding the 50-day. We just want to see if we can get some. And that's what I do for all of them. I have many stocks. I have my anchored VWAP from this gap up right here. And I really don't want to be getting long until we prove that, we're not hitting this and rejecting it super hard. But we do have, a 5-day moving average that's sloping higher. So this would be an interesting watch. My breakout's not going to be up here. It's going to be, if this 5-day can start moving higher and we get above this anchored VWAP, it'll be something like in this area here, but on the next day. So that's what my next video is going to be. It's actually going to be me looking and setting up my watch list for Sunday. For the next week. And you can see my thought process. I probably won't talk as much. I'll just be drawing them and you can just see it. And then you can, look for yourselves at the end of the day and see, or the end of the week, and say which ones did good, which ones did bad. So yeah, I know that was a lot. I don't know how long that video was, but got a good information, boy. So yeah. Hope you can incorporate any of that.